right, Sudin Apte, CEO of Offshore Insights on the show this evening. Sudin, great to have you on the show. First, let me begin with your take on the numbers we've seen today. And if you could also comment on the big three, because we also have TCS numbers now. Truly looking like the best quarter in a long time?
Well, this is in line with our expectation. So when we go to 300 plus clients and try to take estimate from them in terms of the spending, this quarter was clearly looking as a recovery. Tamanna, we had 2, 3 rough quarters starting with March onwards. And then on that background, if you really see things have settled, some of the work which has, gone down has come up again. And that's the reason why you see, the volumes picking up. Now, the way to look at the numbers of all three players, you can look at it from three components of their business. So point number one, the business, which is like, traditional mundane work business like app maintenance, app support, infrastructure management, etc. The work, that keeps the lights on the client system side. That constitutes to roughly 70% of or 65% of Indian export. That work had been gone away, but the volumes have come down. Nobody had really stopped that work or canceled contract. Now, last 2 quarters, as in preceding quarter, the volumes were stabilizing and slightly increasing. In a recent quarter ending December, however, we have seen that volumes of that work have increased. So that's one reason for the growth. Second reason for the growth is, if you look at the clients, especially North American and European clients, they have settled to the new reality, in terms of how to engage with the clients, how to deliver the service or product, the way to engage with clients. And, when you go to that new reality, a large chunk of processes and business applications need modernization. If modernization is not right word for anyone, adopting to the new reality. And that for new normal or new reality, there was a lot of work which we saw happening in terms of, app modernization, stitching to the new technologies, workflow changes, distributed working. So a lot of those things, resulted into, accelerated work of a new type. And the third and most importantly, which probably is going to be a long-term trend, is adoption of digital. If you had looked at last couple of years, the adoption of digital, I'm talking about pre-pandemic, we have seen one trajectory of the growth. Now, post-pandemic, when situation is stabilizing, clients are adopting every component of digital, if not all, majority of the components of digital substantially. And that adoption rate has increased, ever in the past, compared to ever in the past. That is the third reason why we are seeing work increasing. All in all, our assessment is, in next 12 months, that's calendar year 21 or Indian fiscal 21-22, which typically based on American clients' budget for calendar year 2021, so calendar year 21, you will see that the industry actually will grow by just about 7 to 10%, and some of the leading players, not essentially by size, but some of the players who are able to deliver the third component will record the growth in double digit. And now, on the backdrop of last couple of years, we are not even talking about higher double digit, but from 10 to 12%, 10 to 15%, that percentage growth will be witnessed by some of the companies who are able to meet to the new client requirements for digital adoption. So that's how I look at it. So, just to sum up.
Sudin, a very interesting point that you made, Sudin, and if I can ask you a follow-up, please. A very interesting point that you made is about how digital adoption has also fueled better revenues for all of these companies. And a lot of that digital adoption and the push for digital adoption came about due to what we went through all of last year and continue to do so, which is COVID-19 pandemic, etc. Having said that, do you see this kind of a momentum sustain for these companies, considering a lot of major clients would have front-loaded their digital adoption needs?
There are two parts to this answer. So let me put first part of the answer, which is on the demand side or on the client side. Now, when we talk to clients, you see that there is a clear uptake in digital adoption. Think about it, why it's happening. There was a pandemic, things came to a standstill, then the way of working had changed, and now everybody had to alter the way in which they were working before pandemic and now post pandemic or during end of the pandemic and post pandemic. Now, if I think about myself as a retail CIO or a bank CIO, now I had to anyway modernize the process or tweak the processes the way I'm working. Now, if I had to take that risk, why I don't as well do some of the digital component? Maybe deploy artificial intelligence, maybe deploy some of the additional incremental mobility, maybe deploy some of the big data. So I think a lot of organizations are taking advantage of anyway, demanding change. See, look at, every business has undergone change. Travel has undergone change. Entertainment has gone under change. Banking has undergone dramatic change. Even some of the slow-moving sectors like oil, they have gone change because of the shifting, the fluctuations in demand. So people thought if I had to take the risk in modifying my workflows and decision-making parameters, and hence I had to change my application processes, why don't I adopt some of the newer technologies rather than again doing all same thing again after 1 year or 2 years? And that's the reason why we see digital adoption increasing. Now, in terms of CIO budget, we see the increase of 2 to 3% in CIO budget. For technology spend, which typically generally converts into 5% or 7% of IT services growth from Indian vendor perspective. Now, in addition to that, there are a couple of other business units in every industry. Now, if you look at, for example, banking or insurance or manufacturing, then you have, marketing, sales, client-facing services. In manufacturing, you have R&Ds or supply chain. Now, every one of this is also adopting with some incremental budget from their own budgets towards the digital adoption. And that gets another percent of growth, in terms of total spend from a client perspective. So this is on the client side, very robust. And I feel that this requirement will continue for at least 2 to 3 years till, global 2000 companies roll out, applications suitable to new normal. Now, on a vendor side, this is not a, easy business. So there are 2-3 challenges for Indian IT industry. Point one is, it's calling for quite a lot of sophistication in business understanding and domain capability. It calls for quite a lot of understanding in reprocessing or business process re-engineering capability, more of a consultative onshore. So business models will get tweaked. That's on our client side, first challenge. Second challenge on the client side is going to be, you're going to get a very different competition. Last 4 or 5 years, we are seeing that. Now that is also getting accelerated. All these days, if you come out with an RFP for application development, you will be actually, pitting against probably another fellow IT company from India or maybe a United States or European company. Now what happens is you may compete against some of the point solutions, which may be delivering maybe store management application or supply chain related optimization, maybe demand forecasting application.
I'm unfortunately, Sudin, this is fascinating. Yeah. And you have such a breadth of an outlook on the IT industry. I wish we had more time.
Yeah, so I just complete the last one sentence. Yes. The point is, there are a flurry of new point solutions which are now competing with that giving ready to offer off-the-shelf pay-per-use model solution. So this completely different competition is another challenge that you will face on a vendor side. So these 2 challenges, but the demand clearly is very solid and robust for 2 years.
I think, the big takeaway is that you're going to see this trajectory for the next 2 to 3 years. So a good phase for Indian IT, definitely on top of it and managing to make the most of the situation that we see globally. Thank you so much, Sudin Apte.